craft, and Charlie with a new challenge. So, before I keep chatting, let's get in.
Good morning and welcome. So today we are doing our craft, which just needs some paper, some pen, paint, and then all you've got to do is dip your finger in the paint, make sure it's coloured. I only had pink because that's all my daughter left me. But cover your finger with some paint, and then very simply we're going to do our fingerprints on the paper. It's nice and easy. We're going to just dab it across the paper. Now what we're going to be building is building a wall, and you will see in a minute when I'm finished what that looks like. And I want to get you to think, as Nehemiah had to think, about when we're building the walls, the things that will distract us and the things that will encourage us to keep going, because it wasn't an easy job at all times. So we're going to do this. You may want to get some friends in to help build your wall as well. But I will just quickly fill my wall up, and then I will show you my end result. So here is my completed wall, and in green I wrote the things that are distracting me, stopping me focusing on what God's wanting me to do, and in red I wrote the things and the reasons why I need to keep going, I need to put my effort into building the wall. So I put the TV down, I put games down, I put friends down, they distract me sometimes, and then I put learning new things, getting new things. Put friends down again, because actually you get more friends when you start to do things that are helping others and learning with others. So that is our craft. Look forward to seeing what colour walls you will make.
Guess what? I finally had my hair cut. I'm rebuilding my hair. But not in exactly the same form it was before. The parting is on the other side. The point is that when we rebuild something, it needn't be exactly the same as it was before. Now today, we're completing our series of talks on this subject of rebuilding as our life rebuilds after this horrible pandemic. For over a year, we've lived with limitations, and now we're thinking about the future. So the series has been based on the book of Nehemiah, who tried to rebuild Jerusalem. He concentrated on trying to rebuild the walls and the gates, the houses and the temple. And you remember last time I talked about how he managed to complete the task. But despite some success with the physical rebuilding project, it was still a bit of a failure. Nehemiah had overcome opposition to the project and the doubts of his fellow Israelites, but he discovered at the end of it all that whilst the building project had gone quite well, despite long delays and some setbacks, the people hadn't changed. They were the same. This meant they were still doing all sorts of things which were against the law of God. They were working on the Sabbath, setting up market stalls to trade in the temple area. You may remember when Jesus found this happening, he drove the traders out of the courts. But they were also intermarrying with those of other faiths, worshipping other gods, and they were not providing the tithes, that's a gift of 1/10, for the work of the church. And they were misusing the sacred buildings for other purposes. They just drifted from their faith. Now, all this may sound like it hasn't got much meaning for us today, set as it is in an ancient time, but it has an important message. It tells us that the most important thing when rebuilding is not the building. Can you guess what it is? It isn't anything like walls or gates or houses or a temple. Well, let me give you a clue. Sometimes when someone tries to do something but fails, it isn't because they haven't got the right materials or skills or even physical effort. They just lack the motivation, the will to succeed, and people say, their heart wasn't in it. When they say that, what they mean is that the person didn't actually care about it. They weren't bothered whether the work was completed successfully or not. So perhaps the most important thing that needs rebuilding is not walls, but the heart. Have you ever started something you've been asked to do which you aren't interested in? It may be something which you think won't be any good or won't be any use or won't work, or maybe you just don't feel like doing it because you'd rather be doing something else. When things start to go wrong, you say, I told you so, and you probably just give up. That happens because your heart wasn't in it. It wasn't important enough to you. Nehemiah realised that a lot of the people involved in the rebuilding of Jerusalem were like that. Their heart wasn't in it. It wasn't in what they were doing. They rebuilt the city physically, walls and houses, but they weren't bothered about rebuilding themselves, and so they returned to their bad old ways. So how can you rebuild your heart? Well, by reminding yourself of the good things which will happen if you complete the task, by thinking about how it will help other people and maybe yourself, and by considering how you would feel if you didn't complete it properly or even at all. And if that still doesn't make you really want to do it, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it at all. There's an old saying, if it's a job worth doing, it's worth doing well, and that means not cutting corners. I remember a story about somebody who was applying to join the Navy, and the recruitment officer was a really serious admiral. The chap was very nervous about the interview, and during it, the admiral suddenly asked him, "When you were at school, did you always try your best?" Well, the recruit thought he'd better be honest. So he said, "No." At which the admiral said, "Why not?" And he didn't have an answer to that question. Let's make sure that when we agree to do something, we do it as well as we possibly can. Nehemiah realised that even when the city of Jerusalem was rebuilt, there was work to be done. The people's hearts needed to be rebuilt too. And for us, that means inviting Jesus into our heart. Bye.